Hi, my name is Jonathan Huggins, and I am a TOEFL prep teacher. So I have invited a few students to post their integrated and independent essays for the TOEFL in a Google Doc. And as promised, I'm going to review them and give some feedback. And in addition, we're going to be doing a short Q&A session. So feel free to leave any comments or questions that you have that you'd like me to answer about the TOEFL, and I'll get to those towards the end of the review. So let's get started. So I'm going to share my screen and start reviewing this. So thank you if you're watching live. I've just been sharing this. And if you are watching live, feel free to share this video with your friends, other people you know who are preparing for the TOEFL, so they can get value out of this session, and also ask some questions while we're here live. And if you're watching the recording, you're still welcome to post your own essays that you would like me to review, and then I can go ahead and do another YouTube session. I will post a link to the Google document where you can post your essays. That'll be in the description of this video. So let's get started. I'm going to go over here to the Google Doc, and I'm going to check on my screen. And if you're watching, could you leave a comment to see if you can see my screen okay? I'm just loading this on my phone as well to make sure. Yeah, it looks like you can see the screen. So yeah, I'm just going to zoom in a little bit more to make that a little bit more visible. Not sure if that's too zoomed in. Maybe that I'll zoom out slightly. Okay, I will do that. Okay, I'll leave it like here. So as I said here, you're welcome to paste your integrated independent essays that you would like me to review. I will leave a link to that in the description of this video. So this topic is, looks like this is about education. And I believe that this is an independent essay. So, okay, so let me get into this and start reading. I'll read this out loud so you can hear as well for working on pronunciation. But okay, so education plays a crucial role. Education plays a crucial role in every student's life. Okay, so first of all, this is missing an apostrophe because this is the possessive. So I'm going to highlight that. I'm not sure if I can go over to the highlighting tools because I'm zoomed in. But yeah, this is, I think I have to zoom out to get some of the tools. But I will put in the apostrophe here. So that is missing the apostrophe for the possessive. Education plays a crucial role in every student's life. It helps them to behave as a well-behaved and a civilized person. So this behave and well-behaved, I would say, is a little redundant. Also, this adjective requires a hyphen, like that. Put that in bold. Also, when you're doing a well-behaved and a civilized person, that makes it sound like it's two separate things. So I would get rid of this A and just say it helps them to behave as a well-behaved and civilized person. Now, to get rid of this redundancy of behave and well-behaved, I have basically like two choices. One, I can change the verb to behave. Because well-behaved, I think that is a good adjective. There is a lot of content in that. So I would just try to change this as maybe, what could they say? It helps them to act. Maybe I could say act act as a well-behaved and civilized person. What else could we say? If you have any suggestion, feel free to put that in the comments on this video. I see several of you are watching now, so thanks for joining us. Say hi in the comments on the side of the video. I'll be happy to take your questions and also take your suggestions as well. So I'm going to put ACT, and I'll keep thinking about this as well. So that will help me avoid some of this redundancy. Now, in addition to this, starting the sentence with it, this pronoun, it's a bit weak. So to maybe improve this, because we're talking about education, then I would say education plays a crucial role in every student's life, and well, maybe and it helps them to behave or to act as a well-behaved and civilized person. So I could use and link the two sentences, so it's not so abrupt. Or I could also start off using maybe a phrase like as education plays a crucial role in every student's life, it helps them to behave, it helps them to act as a well-behaved and civilized person. So I could actually take this opening phrase and put that as like a background context to this essay. So I could, that's another thing we could do here. Yeah, so as education plays a crucial role in every student's life, it helps, I don't know, lower this, it helps them to act as a well-behaved and civilized person. Okay, next, a high level education, probably a high level of education also helps a person. A person for me, it's a very generic word. So I would, if you can go into your essays and into your writing and find some of these generic words like person, people, man, woman, try to see if you can find more rich synonyms or qualify this. So if we're in the context of education, we might as well talk about like students. So and then on top of that, we generally use the plural for general statements. So I could say helps students. I'll get rid of a person and put instead helps students. And I'm going to undo that. So help students to achieve bigger achievements in their life. Okay, this is similar to like behave and well-behaved. So once again, we have a redundancy of achieve plus achievements. So I do appreciate that there is some variety like in the word form, the verb, and the noun form, but in the same exact sentence, it is redundant. So once again, I'm going to change the verb here, and instead of saying achieve, I'm going to do, let's say maybe to a high level of education also helps students to maybe make bigger achievements in their life or reach bigger achievements in their life. So I think make is a bit generic as well. So I'm going to replace this with maybe like reach. And I'm going to still think about it, but I just want to avoid this redundancy. Higher achievements in their life. Okay, in my view, to improve the quality of education, here, okay, I think I need to put maybe a comma. So in my view, to improve the quality of education, universities, so otherwise I'm going to read this as education universities. So I want to make that separation. So in my view, to improve the quality of education, universities should spend more money on books, scholarships, competitions, and research. In American English, research is a uncountable noun, so I'm going to get rid of the ES. Rather than spending it. So yeah, the it refers to the money. So in my view, to improve the quality of education, universities should spend more money on books, scholarships, competitions, and research rather than spending it on teachers with increased salaries. Okay. And make sure you use the punctuation period. Okay. As a teacher, I'm not sure how I feel about that, but okay. So to justify the statement, the statement, I think I might refer to maybe this statement more than the statement, because you do want to kind of highlight the fact that you just said something. So I would refer to this more as this statement. Books are the storehouse of knowledge. Moreover, these days, various types of books are available in the market just for a single subject. More these days, various types of books are available in the market just for a single subject. By having more books in the library, students can improve and enhance their knowledge. Okay. For example, one of my friends who was studying in some college, I would probably say at instead of it in, at some college. And this some college, it's not a very specific college. So mm, it's not very precise enough, I would say. So who was studying at, just let's leave it at college or at a college. College. If we don't really want to mention it, but we just use at a. So for example, one of my friends who was studying at a college, and I think there's double space here, and was doing a project on marine animals. So do and make, they are kind of generic verbs. You might want to find another, a more rich synonym for do. Maybe working on a project, researching a project, so working on, or developing, or researching. Those would be a little bit more appropriate for like an academic context. Doing, it's a bit basic. So was working on a project on marine animals. He needed to read different kinds of books from various authors. Um, as his financial condition was not good enough, so he was not able to buy all the books. Uh, the financial condition was not good enough. It sounds a bit um, there. It sounds more like the definition of something, like the description of something, instead of just saying maybe as he did not have much money. I would say it this way, like financial condition was not good enough. I might hesitate on interpreting that of like, well, what does that particularly mean? So maybe here we're talking about money, so let's be a little bit more clear about this. So as his like or as his budget was tight or limited, uh, as his budget was limited. So we don't generally do as and so. We would do one or the other. So I say as his, like I did at the beginning here, as education plays a crucial role in every student's life, it helps them. So I mean, not to repeat the same structure twice, maybe. So he needed to read different kinds of books from various authors. Um, and no, yeah, and as his budget was limited, I'll get rid of the so. He was not able to buy all of the books. Maybe all of the books that he needed, like all of the books, maybe all the books in the world, like which ones? So was not able to buy all the books, I don't know, that he needed. Um, just to specify a little bit more on here. In result of that, I would probably change it just as a result. This one in result of that, it's a little less common than just saying as a result. So as a result, he started reading the books from his university library, which was having all the recent and exclusive editions of the books. So was having, it's not very typical to put the verb have in the past continuous form. I would just change this to had. So, had. And put this comma. So for this clause. So which, so he started reading the books from his university library, which had all the recent and exclusive editions of the books. A library, we don't need a capital L. So a library provides him all the material to complete his work for that research. His work for that research, we might just simplify this and call all his research work. I do understand that some students might like to add these kinds of structures to increase their word count, but it's not as concise. It's not as effective if you are able to simplify and be a little bit more kind of, yeah, work these structures into your writing so it's not so wordy. Okay, once again, we have this phrase in result of that. I would use a different one for variety. Consequently, as a consequence, or I don't know, just consequently. He hold. So make sure one of the things that comes up quite frequently as a typo is forgetting the letter S on the present simple. So spot check as you're proofreading your essays. Spot check your verbs and see if you're missing letter S, especially if you're talking about like he or she or it. So consequently, he holds first position in his class. Oh, okay. So to hold a position, maybe this is not the best phrasing. So maybe I would rephrase this as he is first in his class. So consequently, he is first, or even ranked first. Or I could even say he's at the top of his class. So he is first in his class. Wait, during that year. Okay, so that's the past, I would say. So I don't think this hold should be actually be in present tense. This should probably be past tense. So consequently, he was, because yeah, for consistency of the tenses, make sure that you read this of here we have started reading, and we also have maybe had all the books. So, well, because we're talking about that year in the past, this should probably be past as well. So he was, or he held, but I'm not such a big fan of this phrase of hold the first position. So he was ranked first in his class during that year, or he was first in his class, or I could say he was at the top of his class during that year. Okay, so having a different variety. What is a different variety? And what would be the opposite of that? The same variety? Different variety, I'm not sure that's a very effective phrase, different variety. You can Google that, but I don't think you're going to find many results for different variety. So maybe a wide variety, having a wide variety, of books. So sorry. Okay. So a wide variety of books in the library can help the students to excel in various ways. Okay. Yeah, that's not bad. Yeah, I like having this kind of concluding statement to back up what this paragraph is about. So this one is about the importance of books. Okay, so there are a few things that are slightly awkward in the phrasing, but that doesn't really mean I don't understand what the person is saying here. So there are a few things on maybe a bit of a abstract concept. Financial condition was not good enough. I mean, that's not specific enough. So I would just say, okay, budget. There are a few phrases that get a little redundant, a little repetitive. So I would try to change them and try to shorten up this phrase, like research work instead of work for that research. So there's just some style things that I would change here. The message is still understood. There are some things on the structure of the sentences, knowing how to use like as or so. Also the punctuation, like comma, which, those are tiny things. They're not the worst things as mistakes, but they just improve the quality overall. Okay, let's keep moving on. Are there any questions that any of you have so far about corrections I've made or other suggestions? So feel free to comment that on the side of the video in the chat section. Okay, expanding the statement. Expanding the statement. It's not the most effective way to start the paragraph. Okay, furthermore, additionally, furthermore, the university should provide a scholarship to the deserving students. So if we have there's a chance that I probably should know who you're referring to, and I might not. So these could be maybe in general. So provide a scholarship to deserving students, comma, which can encourage the students to study harder. Okay. Yeah. For this university can. Okay, I have a hard time interpreting this. I don't know if it's for this or if it's for this university. So is it the referring to the scholarship, or is it saying a certain university? So that's slightly confusing on reading that, interpreting that sentence, or the start of that sentence. I think that this is referring to the scholarship. So and also I would probably change this for maybe okay. So the university should provide a scholarship to deserving students, which can encourage the students to study harder. Maybe to accomplish this. Get rid of the cross-out. So to accomplish this, and I'll put this in plural. Universities can also held. So held is the past, so we need hold for the infinitive. To accomplish this, universities can also hold the competitive exams. So I think this is a general statement, so getting rid of the article, the competitive exams, comma, which can, we might not necessarily need to put which on every sentence. So I'll probably get rid of this and use instead that. So competitive exams that can drive students to study even more harder. Okay, so this is a problem with the comparative. So more is generally used with longer adjectives, and the ER at the end of hard is already a comparative. So we don't need more harder, we just need harder. So just to drive students to study even harder. But this is a little bit repetitive because we've already said that a scholarship can get students to study harder. So, well, we have the word also, but I think this also is not strong enough. So maybe to accomplish this, universities can hold competitive exams that can drive students to study even harder. That contrasts students to study harder. Okay, furthermore, the university should provide a scholarship to deserving students, which can encourage them. This is also a little repetitive because we have students and encourage the students. Let's use a pronoun. Also, when we get into this kind of a topic about students and then them, there's a really good TOEFL prep video that you should see from Josh McPherson of the Vocabulary Ninja, and he was discussing something about this. He was calling it uh, subject juggling, and he was talking about how we could have like students, and then we could refer to them with the pronoun them, and then we could find another way to describe them. I'll put a link in this video so you can go check out that video. I think that's a very useful discussion on that relates to this kind of a way to help improve your essay writing. So I'll put that in there. His name is Josh McPherson, and his site is, or he's known as the Vocabulary Ninja. Okay, so let's keep going. So I'm still kind of stuck on this part of this additionally or also. So furthermore, the university should provide a scholarship to deserving students, which can encourage them to study harder. To accomplish this, and maybe joining this, and to accomplish this, so maybe a comma of a separate sentence. Or additionally, and to further accomplish this, or and to accomplish this, universities can also hold competitive exams that can drive students to study even harder. Okay, I'll leave it, but let's keep going. So I don't want to bore you with these little hesitations. Okay, in addition, it will. So what is the it? Is the it the scholarship, or is the it? That's not quite clear to me because we've talked about competitive exams. We've talked about a scholarship, but that's like 2 sentences up above. So I'm a little confused about like what this it is supposed to refer to. It's not completely obvious to me. So, okay, in addition, it will also give benefit. We can shorten this up. It will also benefit. It will also benefit low-income students. They're not very, the article here again, it's not obvious to me who, so I would just generalize with these people and say will also benefit, make sure there's a hyphen here, low income students. So I think this it is referring to the scholarship. So, but just be careful when that is 2 sentences away. There's a risk that you might lose your reader. Okay, so in addition, it will also benefit low-income students. Okay, I think this is an example where like was what Josh is referring to of like subject juggling. I think this is where instead of using the pronoun it, we could give a synonym for a scholarship. So maybe saying like, let's say deserving students, and we also have this up here. So I'm going to say merit-based funding. And that will be a synonym for a scholarship. Sorry, no, I don't want to. I want to keep that. So in addition, merit-based funding. So that's a reference to the scholarship. And this is another way to like add some variety to your writing. So you're not always repeating the same words. So in addition, merit-based funding will also benefit low-income students with this great effort, which is providing by the university to the worthy students. This is getting a little redundant here. So income students with this great effort will also benefit low-income students. Maybe whose great effort? What is the effort referring to? Is it the fact that the university is giving money to the student, or is it that the student is trying to um, work hard to get the scholarship? Okay, and there's a question here. When combining the verb to help with an infinitive, sometimes a to between help and the second verb is used, sometimes not. Is there a rule? No, not that I'm aware of. I mean, I like after this video is finished, I will further look that up and provide a link to what research I can find in terms of like a style guide. I do remember a few years ago when I was working as a translator from Spanish to English. There were times where I would not put the word to, and then the person who was proofreading my work would add the word to. Sometimes it's the sound. I'm not quite sure if there's a rigid rule about help plus to or help without to. I generally leave it out. But I will go ahead and do some research to that question and see if I can find something more specific. If there is like a style guide that talks about this in more detail, or a grammar guide, or like a forum that refers to this. And I'll leave a link to that in the notes to this video. Thank you very much for asking that question. So once again, that question is, when combining the verb to help with an infinitive, sometimes a to between help and the second verb is used. Sometimes it isn't. Is there a rule? So I will look that up and I will post that in the notes to this. But I generally don't put the word to, but for style reasons, sometimes people do. Okay, let's keep going here. So this sentence is a bit problematic about whose effort is this, and is the effort referring to the scholarship, or is the effort referring to the students who are working hard? It's not completely clear to me. With this great effort, which is providing by this university to the worthy students. This is a little awkward phrasing, so be careful with this. I don't want to waste too much time going into the details on every single sentence. I want to probably keep going. But right now, I'll just say this is an awkward phrasing, and it's not quite clear what this is referring to because I can't actually get that answer directly from the student who wrote this. And if I were the examiner, I wouldn't be able to ask them anyway. So it's a little difficult to know, how am I supposed to interpret this sentence? I mean, I don't know if it's the effort like the exam, or it's the scholarship. If it is the scholarship, it's like the university is making an effort to provide money. I mean, the university has a lot of money. So whose effort is this? Okay. Or is the effort referring to the fact that like the university is being nice? And I don't know. It's a little, the phrasing is awkward, so it's a little tricky for me to interpret this. Okay, let's move on. A scholarship can help the students achieve. So yeah, here we could keep to in there. We could get rid of it. I think for style reasons, I would just be a very picky editor taking it out, and then having to check for consistency in the entire essay. But I'll just leave it in. It doesn't distract me. A scholarship can help the students to achieve their dreams. Once again, we have a the with specific students, but I think this is a general statement about students. So a scholarship can help students to achieve their dreams. So when I read that kind of a general statement, I want to see an example. And I'm happy to see that right now there's a for example, because if you just like put a general statement and then you do nothing with it, it's maybe not the most effective. Okay, so for example, sometimes, intelligent, make sure you have the N before the vowel sound. An intelligent student will not be able to complete their studies because of their low financial status. by giving them an opportunity. Okay, double P. Because of their low financial status, by giving them an opportunity to achieve and scholarship. So okay, so we have a problem with the indefinite article. So here we're missing the N before the I, but here we have an N before the S. So here we don't need it because it's a consonant. Okay. To achieve a scholarship will motivate them to study harder. This is actually also getting a little bit repetitive. Harder, study harder, study harder. That's getting repetitive. You need to find another way to phrase this. Also, the structure of the sentence, it's a little like by giving them. So be careful with by giving them, because I'm not sure if that's supposed to, the way it reads right now is this: an intelligent student will not be able to complete their studies because of their low financial status by giving them. So it is by giving them an opportunity, is that related to the fact that they won't be able to complete their studies? I would stop the sentence here. Just because up to there, the sentence is grammatically correct. For example, sometimes an intelligent student will not be able to complete their studies because of their low financial status. I think there needs to be a contrast here. So I'm going to put, but by giving them an opportunity to achieve a scholarship, this will motivate them to study harder. Okay, here it works. But if I didn't have that but or this contrast, it's a messy sentence. So I need that contrast. Or I could start the sentence. I could go back to this idea ahead of a period, and I could start with however to really separate these ideas. I think this works a little better. However, giving them an opportunity to achieve a scholarship. Achieve a scholarship, it's not the best wording. I might say to earn a scholarship. To earn a scholarship, this will motivate them to study harder. Once again, we have this repetition. I'm not really happy with that because we have in the first sentence to study harder, then again to study even harder, and then motivate them to study harder. So there's a lack of variety in this, but I want to move on. So even with that, what is that? Even with the scholarship? Okay, that there's a lot of stuff going on here: an opportunity, a scholarship, working hard, motivation. So even with that, be careful with just a pronoun and not necessarily getting stuck there. So, hello, Noor. So thanks for joining us. If you have any questions about the TOEFL writing, feel free to ask them. I'll be happy to answer them. Okay. So it's not quite obvious what we're referring to. Okay, so even with that, a change could be observed. Be careful with your passive phrasing. So observed, we need the past participle form. So observed. In students' behavior, this is a possessive, so we're missing the apostrophe because this is multiple students, so we need apostrophe after the S. So even with that, a change could be observed in students' behavior. One could become more sincere. Okay, this is a run-on sentence. Even that a change could be observed in students' behavior. One could become more sincere, disciplined, and responsible toward their studies, which can make them a more civilized person. Okay, I think I need, again, this comma before the word which. One could, well, here we're talking about students in the plural, so why not refer to them as they? They could become more sincere, disciplined, and responsible. I generally put in the Oxford comma after like a group of in a group of three. So that's like comma, and then and. There are some people for style, they don't like the Oxford comma, but I think it does help. I'll put I'll put a link in the description of this video. There was actually a court case where the absence of this Oxford comma had a different interpretation in a contract, and people sued the workers or the drivers. I think this was in a contract. They sued the company because it was ambiguous, and they won and they got money. So actually, an Oxford comma it can actually save you money and save you a lawsuit if you're in that situation. So I would recommend using the Oxford comma. So even with that, a change could be observed. Maybe a can. It's not so hypothetical. Also, when generalizing, I prefer to put this in the plural. So changes. Even with that, it's actually more of a contrasting phrase. It's like, well, if I gave you something, well, even with that, I'm not going to do it. Like, I'll give you $10. No. Okay, I'll give you 50. No. Well, even with that, I'm not going to do it. So even with that, it's a way to kind of, despite that condition or despite that, so yeah, even with that, it's not the most effective phrase here. I can see that somebody is trying to add these little phrases into the beginning of their sentences, but you have to be careful with them. Make sure that you do understand how those words, those little phrases need to be used. If they're for contrast, if they're in addition, if they're sequencing, first, second, then, or consequently, or cause and effect. Be very careful with and make sure that you are skillful using them, because you don't want to have those hesitations on the day of the test, and you don't want them to work against you. You want to make sure that these little phrases are helping highlight a contrast, or here's an additional detail, or a further supporting detail. So be very careful and make sure you really understand those phrases. That's one recommendation I would give you for writing. Okay, and then getting to this in the conclusion. To sum this up, I think just to sum up, wait, what? Wait, to sum up, a teacher always worth appropriate salary for his work and commitment towards his students, but spending money on this is not justified with the students who deserves a higher quality education. Okay, there's a lot of little mistakes that are in that sentence. To sum up, once again, I'm going to put this in the plural. Teachers. To sum up, teachers always, I need the verb to be. Teachers are always worth. Teachers are always worth an appropriate salary for their work. Yeah, because I put this in plural, for their work. Sum up, teachers are always worth an appropriate salary for their work and commitment towards their students. Comma, but spending money on this. So, okay, that's the salary. Just to clarify, yeah, spending money on a salary. I'm not sure if that's kind of redundant. Do you spend money on a salary? I think you give money to a teacher. You don't spend money on money. Yeah, because a salary is money. So spending money on money, there's a problem with that concept. Okay, so or is this referring to like a teacher? So spending money on a teacher? Well, you're not quite spending money on a teacher. You're remunerating them. You're giving them money for their work that they do. Okay, so but how about just paying teachers as a way to refer to the salary? So yeah, because this is a little problematic on the concept there, spending money on money. So how about paying teachers? Paying teachers is not justified with the students. Well, that's kind of contradictory because we have like their worth. Students are all teachers are always worth an appropriate salary, but then it's not justified. Maybe this is like paying teachers. That's a little tricky. It's not justified with the students who deserve a higher quality education, and for students who deserve higher quality, and also students in S, there's a problem there. There's too many S's. Okay, so students who deserve a higher quality education. Generally, education is usually uncountable, so deserve higher quality education, or maybe we could refer to this as a higher a higher level of quality. No, I'll just leave it higher quality education. This is a bit problematic. This is not justified with the students who deserve higher quality education. It's a little contradictory in there. Okay. I'm just going to leave a question mark. I'm again hesitating on how to correct that. Okay. Universities should always spend their money on scholarships, comma, which can. That seems to be the only structure that this person is using. I would probably switch this again like that for some variety. Universities should always spend their money on scholarships that can be given to maybe merit-based students. Oh wait, okay, merit-based students on the basis. Okay, I've created a redundancy in there. Maybe be given to just let's get rid of it. So that was me adding it in there, but we have the basis, so I'll just get rid of it. Given to students on the basis of competitive exams, which ultimately boost them to study harder. Okay, once again, this study harder phrase is in there. There's no variety in that, so I would recommend find an additional way to say that. Moreover, money should be spent on increasing the quantity and quality of books, which can give an advantage to students to improve their knowledge. Okay. Okay. Okay, so we finished this essay. I'll just look at all the changes I've been making on here. The introduction was not bad. The first paragraph, it was making a point. I was able to understand it. There were, again, some style things to change there. There are more changes I made in the following paragraph, and there was a lot of redundancy, like the study harder, and then the way the structure of the sentences. There were like at least like a run-on or two, and also there was like at least 2 run-ons on here. So the I'm gonna open up the I'm gonna post a link to this so you can see it, but the rubrics, where is it? The rubrics for the writing section. I should have had this open before we got started. It's always in these guides, but where is it? Sorry, I'm looking for the writing rubric so we can comment on this. Usually provided in the testing. I forget what page to put this on. Oh, they don't have it. Oh, wait, yes, they do. Where is it? 3. If you're looking in the official guides for the TOEFL test, there is on page 331. You have the rubrics for how your essays are being corrected. So I'm looking at the one here on like in volume 2. Okay, here if for the writing, it would be page 340 if you're using one of these like volume 2. Okay, so if we're looking at, let's start with an evaluation of like a 3. And hi, Luke. Thanks for stopping by. To be curious about the TOEFL corrections here. Okay, so looking on here at the evaluation for the writing, I'm going to start with a level 3 out of 5. I'm going to start with that. So an essay at this level is marked by one or more of the following: addresses the topic and task using somewhat developed explanations, exemplifications, and/or details. Yeah, there are explanations here. They are detailed. There are examples. There are details in here. Displays unity, progression, and coherence, though connection of ideas may occasionally be obscured. Yeah, some of those ideas are obscured. I've commented on that a couple times. Mostly there is some unity, but some of the ideas, they're a little bit obscure. May demonstrate inconsistent facility in sentence formation. Yes. Inconsistent facility in word choice that may result in lack of clarity and occasionally obscure meaning. Yeah, definitely. May display accurate but limited range of syntactic structures and vocabulary. Yes. Yeah. Okay, comparing that, a 3 to a 2. So a 2, an essay at this level may reveal one of the more following weaknesses: limited development. No, this has development. Inadequate organization or connection of ideas. It does have organization. Sometimes the ideas are a little obscure. Inappropriate or insufficient exemplifications, applications, details to support, illustrate generalizations in response to tasks. No, it does have appropriate examples. It's just some of the phrases are awkward. A noticeably inappropriate choice of words or word forms. Not noticeably, they're just sometimes a little awkward or a little off, but not noticeably. An accumulation of errors in sentence structure and or usage. Yes, there are errors. Yeah, but I'm going to go with the benefit of the doubt and say this essay could probably be like at a 3. Definitely not a 4 because a 4 would say displays facility in the use of language, demonstrating syntactic variety and range of vocabulary. Though it will probably have occasional noticeable minor errors in structure, word form, or use of idiomatic language that do not interfere with meaning. This is the problem. It does interfere with the meaning. Some of those ideas are obscure. So yeah, I wouldn't go close to a 4 on this. I would put this in the range of a 3. I would give this probably a 3 out of 5. And if you had a 3 out of 5 and a 3 out of 5, that would be a 6 out of 10 on the writing. And I'm going to go over, there's a good article on Magoosh. I'm going to put a link to it here called How to Estimate Your Score. And I'll put the link there so you can check it out. And if we took let's assume that this writer also got a 3 on their integrated essay, then that means if they got where is it here? Yeah, if they got a 6 out of 10 on their writing for the raw score, then that would be getting a 20 out of 30 on their writing level on the test, on the day of the test. So there's lots of little comments that I've made on here to help improve the quality. And if you have questions here, feel free to let me know, and I'll be happy to answer them. I know we've been here for about an hour, and I thank all of you who have been watching this live. And I hope you have found this review helpful to see the kinds of things that I observe as a writer, as a teacher, as a TOEFL prep trainer, and ways that these could be improved. There were some mistakes that I was not quite able to correct because the idea was too obscure and I wasn't quite able to interpret it without feedback from that student directly. Okay, so I don't see any more questions in here, but you can go ahead and leave questions below this video once the recording finishes. So I'm gonna, and once again, I'm gonna post the links to this Google document. Feel free to add your own essays on there. And I'll post the links, as I mentioned, to Josh McPherson's video about the like subject juggling and how to include that in your vocabulary. And then also these links to the Magoosh, how to estimate your score. And also there was a question here about using to or without to with the verb help. And yeah, okay. So I'm gonna stop sharing my screen here, and I'm here once again. So thank you very much for your time, for watching this live. And if you're watching the repeat, I'm going to put some timer indicators so you can see where I was with each paragraph as well. If you also have an essay that you would like me to review, go ahead and add that to the Google document, and you can send me a message below this video. You can also find me on social media. On Instagram, my account is jhugsint. That's JHUGSINT. That's the same on Twitter, and you can find me on Facebook, Huggins International. So I'll post links to the social media as well below this video. But thank you everybody who's been watching, especially all of those who've been watching this full hour, taking the time out of your day or evening. I appreciate that, and asking the questions, and for those who've stopped by. So have a good day, and see you in another video. Take care.